What day is it today? The 14th. When did I write this speech? Yesterday. What have I been doing to excuse my laze? Spending the last week and a half either in personal turmoil, sleeping, or drawing anthropomorphic Japanese characters in vintage dresses. I do not take criticism. I did have it in the back of my mind that I was ignoring this assignment, but I assure you, I wasn't waiting to do it just so I'd have a related point for my topic. It's been a problem for roughly 6 years now, and I apparently still haven't learned my lesson. What am I rattling on about? Procrastination. According to dictionary.com, to procrastinate simply means to defer or delay, and I'm an expert at blowing off work or even life opportunities. Surely you would agree with me if I were to tell you that this is not a skill that you want. I have at this point figured out that this is why I hated high school so much. If you recall from my last video, I mentioned how I barely passed freshman year. Well, it didn't stop there. As each progressing year, I just kept caring less and less. For some reason, it was still enough to make me worry about something I did in fact have control over, and that mixed with all the bull I was dealing with at home at the time gave me some pretty bad depression. And if I wanted to sound like I actually knew what I was talking about, I'm pretty sure I'm one of the lesser cases, as some kids surely just don't care even a little. That is, until it's too late. So why do we do this to ourselves? I know there's someone out there that knows exactly what I'm talking about, or someone that hasn't exactly been able to put it to words. Well, allow me to try. I watched a TED Talk not too long ago on this exact subject, and the speaker had explained it perfectly. Although, since it didn't really apply to me 100%, allow me to put it in my own words. If anybody remembers the Pixar movie Inside Out, you will recall the idea they had about what if your brain was an actual supercomputer that your emotions dictated through a control panel that got more and more complex as you grew. Well, instead of 5 core emotions in your quote-unquote headquarters, there are only 3 entities. The first one is your conscious that occupies the panel most of the time. Your ego, if you will. The second one is basically a gremlin-type creature that hates productivity with matters that are only momentarily important. This would mainly be either school or work. The gremlin will try to take over the control panel when it smells work that they think to be boring or simply a waste of time, and divert your attention to something more appealing like games, social media, or general internet. This just makes me feel even more sluggish and determined to find something to distract me, and generally just has me huffing under my breath. I don't want to do this. The gremlin is only afraid of one thing, and it isn't your conscious. It's the third entity, the panic monster. How it was explained to me was that this panic monster only emerged when the time for an assignment was almost up. For me, it lingers in the background as the gremlin continues to keep the conscious as far away from the control panel as they can. But they know that the panic monster is there. This builds a subtle fear in the back of my mind that tells me that my time is running out. And the thing is, I'm still trying to drill into my head that it really is best for you mentally to do these assignments when they're still worth something, no matter the resulting grade. Anyway, when there's only 24 hours or less on the clock is when the panic monster fully comes out of hiding and moves towards the panel, scaring the gremlin off entirely. Then it lets the conscious take back control and commence the cramming. I stand firmly to this. I'm a master crammer. A perfect story exemplifying this claim was during a weekend back in 2014. My sister and I used to visit our dad and stay over every other weekend. It was actually the same weekend I discovered Tumblr, and I so desperately wanted to be a part of things that were once greater than the physical world. Of course, this distracted me from an assignment for my Spanish class that I actually completely forgot about. Well, my mom ended up telling me about it Saturday night and confiscated the blog I had made literally the day before. This is the first time I realized I procrastinated and the panic monster was much younger and jumpy. Well, I must have stayed up until 4 in the morning, making a beach diorama that was my best 3D work probably ever. Thankfully, we had all the supplies. If I remember correctly, I made giant palm trees out of hanger wire and patterned paper, matching shrubbery, a painted sky background in full detail, and a shore of foam covered with fabric from a cream-colored junk shirt, and a bit of glitter and hot glue. When I brought it into school on Monday, mine was the biggest and cleanest of the class, and I'm pretty sure that was the only assignments I aced in that class. Something referring to the general subject of procrastination still boggles me a little, and it's another experience in not as much detail. But in my junior year, I was aware the entire time that I was blowing off everything in my English class. I cared, but at the same time I didn't. I loved my teacher, and it was the only time I had her, but I knew in a far corner of my mind that I was setting myself up for failure. I remember apologizing to her about it all at the end of the year. Maybe I'll have all the answers to that another 6 years from now. I feel like the panel with the 3 entities is merely a template to define procrastination because it can be shaped to fit anyone's experiences with such a problem. but I wouldn't really know for sure. Would it fit you? Have you struggled with procrastination before? Is anything I'm trying to argue relatable to you? Let that be the question you reply to this time. But seriously, try to realize this before I do. It's much better to finish the boring work as soon as you can. I talked about school stuff for the entirety of this video, but procrastination can really apply to anything, like chores, work, even drawing for me sometimes. But it really is best for you to finish the rough stuff while it's still worth something instead of letting it sit and turn into something that can potentially hurt you. Thank you.